Today I'm up in Gilbert and I decided to take myself on a little trip down memory lane. So I drove past the very first house that me and my ex-husband Jake built when we were newlyweds in 1995, and our very first auto glass shop. And then I came to our second house that we raised our kids in. Like my son, who's 26 now, he was a toddler and elementary school kid in this house. Like I remember when they were first putting in all this grass here and building this playground, and our house was right over there. And when my kids were just little bitty, we would come and play at this park almost every day in the afternoon. And these trees were like these little teeny saplings on a stick. And I remember sitting there with my feet in the sand, reading my book while the kids went down the slides and stuff, and thinking someday these are going to be big trees. And they are, and it's crazy. And life goes by so fast. And it's really like beautiful to sit and have all of these memories of being a young mom and stuff. But at the same time, it's so hard and so painful because my life was extremely challenging. And like sitting here in my old cul-de-sac triggers so many memories. And I can remember a lot of happy times, birthday parties with my grandparents and having our whole family out here for picnics on Saturdays. But I also have flashbacks of being a young 20-something and 30-something-year-old mom to what would become a family of 5 kids and dealing every single day with anxiety and depression and sometimes like just not even knowing how to get out of bed in the morning. And at the time when I was that young 20, 30-something-year-old mom, I often beat myself up over feeling like that because I would think there's no reason for this. I have beautiful children. I'm blessed with the incredible gift of being able to be a mom at all. I have a husband who's hardworking and he's there for me. If you guys know Jake, like Jake was so problematic, but he was there. I had a husband and we had more money than we knew what to do with and a beautiful home, and we got to vacation and I had this huge big extended family and I was healthy and I lived in such a beautiful area. And on paper, it's like my life looked so good and I never understood why I was so just absolutely miserable. Like I couldn't figure it out. I have diaries full of just me asking, I don't understand why I hate my life so much. And it's taken me until age 49, the moment I'll be 50 in 2 weeks, to really figure it out. And I wish I had a time machine and that almost 50-year-old Jenny could go knock on the door, talk to that poor girl, and just tell her, honey, it is not you. You are living the wrong life, and anybody would snap under this pressure. I was 20 years old when I became a Mormon trad wife. I barely knew how to cook or take care of myself or balance a checkbook or do anything. And pretty soon I started having babies, and I had all of this responsibility for this huge home, taking care of my husband, taking care of kids, and then just the pressure that we feel as women in general, having to keep our houses clean all the time, the kids looking perfect and everybody looking happy and all the wholesome home-cooked meals on the table. And oh my God, always dealing with body image and are my extensions glossy enough? Are my false eyelashes fluttery enough? And just that whole, I have to pop out a baby and somehow figure out how to drop all the weight and squeeze myself back into my little skinny Lululemons. All the while feeling like all the things that I was doing were not filling me up, keeping myself stick skinny and cute and taking care of all of the kids in the house and being the wife and all that stuff. It didn't fill me up. It actually punctured holes in my bucket and all of the water was like about to run out. And then here we go right back again to wondering why. What was wrong with me? And then on top of that all, having this massive high demand religion that sucked the life out of me in ways that, looking back, I just can't imagine. The day before my first baby was born, again, I was 22 years old. Was I 23? Having my Mormon bishopric come over to the house, they knew that I was inducing the next morning. They knew that I was about to have my first baby. I was just this young woman trying to just live my life. My Mormon bishopric sits down and says, Sister Green, we'd like to call you as the first counselor in this huge young women's organization. And I told them, I don't even want to come to church for the next couple months. I'm having my first baby. I don't have life figured out. I'm not going to be in church. I'm not going to be teaching the women. I'm not going to be doing Wednesday night activities. I can't do that. And then I got spiritually pressured into it because, oh, you don't have enough faith in Heavenly Father because he's the one who told us to tell you that we need you in this position. And so I had my baby, and then the next Sunday I was at church in my young women's calling, and I would teach young women's lessons with a little hooter hider over, and we sit underneath. I'm standing there at the chalkboard holding a baby in one hand and teaching the young women with my other hand. Why couldn't I just be a mom? The church robbed me of that experience. I weaned my baby just so I could fucking go to girls' camp. With our fourth baby, we were called to work in the temple for a while. And so every Friday night, which was usually our date night, we went down to the Mesa Temple at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and came home at like 10 o'clock at night. So after a busy, busy week with 4 kids under the age of 8 in a huge house and all the responsibilities, parent Friday nights, you're so exhausted anyway, right? I had to take myself down to the temple, get dressed in all my white clothes, and then clean the house and stuff on Saturdays and spend the whole day Sunday in church. But I blamed myself for not feeling happy, for feeling stressed, for feeling anxious, and for alternating between can't get out of bed and sometimes the opposite of that, with my heart racing and my palms sweating and just feeling like I was so wound up all the time. Like, well, hi, Heavenly Father's blessed me with so much stuff. What's wrong with me? And it took me a long time to discover what was wrong with me, which is absolutely nothing. What was wrong, but not with me, was that I was not living a congruous, authentic life that aligned with my core. One of the biggest questions that I get on my social medias is, what would you have done differently? And I hate to answer this question because I don't think that it's a one size fits all. I think that I get this question a lot from young women who are considering getting married. What would you have done differently? How could you have prevented ending up in domestic violence for 24 years, hating your life, and eventually trying to unalive yourself? Like, how can I avoid that? And I also get it from people who I think are already in problematic situations and hoping to change. What can I do differently? What advice does Jenny have for me? And I don't think that there is a one size fits all answer, but I do think that there is one answer that is really important. And that is to be authentic and be true to yourself, because that congruity, that alignment, that authenticity is truly the secret to happiness. I knew from the time I was a very little girl. I'm very self-reflective. I'm very personally insightful. I knew what I loved and what I didn't love and what made me feel good and what made me feel crappy. And I had a picture for the direction that I wanted to go in life. I want to be a journalist. I never want to have kids. I love my kids. But I think that we need to be honest sometimes in saying there was a time in my life when I didn't see them in my future. And I'm glad that they're here. And both of those things are true at the same time. And I didn't really want a man in my life or in charge of me. I wanted to travel and hike and work and have this beautiful, wild future. And instead, what so many of us tend to do and what I did was we know the assignment. And so we live out the life that somebody else, our family, our culture, our church, our whatever, tells us that we have to live out. And that's what happened to me. And that is why the girl that lived in this house over here would stand in the kitchen at dinner time, slicing homemade bread with 5 kids running around, just shaking and thinking, I can't wait until bedtime so I can just turn my brain off and numb out on my life. This life might have been somebody's dream. And it might have worked for somebody else, but it didn't work for me. And I was only living it because I felt like I had to. So fast forward to today, 5.5 years ago, I got the Mormon church the hell out of my life. And then the husband abandoned me and I got him the hell out of my life. And every toxic friend, every activity that I didn't want to do, they're gone. I truly wish that I could let that girl see the happiness that she would feel in July of 2024, after she had worked hard to build her life brick by brick in total alignment and congruity with her own self. That is the secret to happiness, guys.